Cinderella, a timeless fairy tale. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a kind and gentle girl named Ella. She was the only child of a wealthy and noble gentleman. Her mother had passed away when she was very young, but not before telling her, "Be kind and brave, my sweet daughter, and good things will come to you." For years, Ella and her father lived happily together. He doted on her, and she grew to be lovely, graceful, and warm-hearted. However, wanting to give her a complete family again, Ella's father eventually remarried. His new wife, Lady Tremaine, was a proud and cold woman with two daughters of her own, Drusilla and Anastasia. Lady Tremaine's daughters were vain and cruel, and they despised Ella for her beauty and kindness. They saw her as a threat to their status. Tragedy struck again when Ella's father died suddenly during a business trip. Now left with her stepmother and stepsisters, Ella's life changed drastically. Lady Tremaine wasted no time in showing her true colors. She dismissed the servants, moved Ella to the attic, and forced her to cook, clean, and serve her stepsisters as if she were nothing more than a maid. The once bright and happy girl was now covered in ashes and soot from working by the fireplace, so her stepsisters mockingly nicknamed her Cinderella. She accepted the name with quiet grace. A royal invitation. One day, a royal messenger arrived at every house in the kingdom with an announcement: the king was holding a grand ball at the palace. His son, the prince, was of age to marry, and all the young ladies were invited so he might find a bride. The household erupted with excitement. Drusilla and Anastasia were thrilled. They demanded new gowns, shoes, and jewels. Cinderella, too, dared to dream. She asked, "May I go to the ball?" Lady Tremaine laughed coldly. "You, a servant girl? If, and only if, you finish all your chores and find something suitable to wear." Then, she and her daughters did everything they could to keep Cinderella busy and destroy her hope. Still, Cinderella remained determined. She found her mother's old gown and, with the help of friendly mice and birds in the attic, especially her best friends, Gus and Jack, she repaired and cleaned it. But when she came down wearing it, ready for the ball, her stepsisters tore it apart out of jealousy. Devastated, Cinderella ran into the garden and wept. The fairy godmother. Just as her tears fell onto the soil, a soft light shimmered beside her. A warm and gentle voice said, "Why are you crying, my child?" Before her stood a kindly old woman holding a wand. "I am your fairy godmother, and tonight you shall go to the ball." With a wave of her wand and the magic words, Bibbidi-bo, the fairy godmother transformed
A pumpkin into a magnificent golden carriage, mice into horses, a dog into a coachman, and Cinderella's torn dress into a glittering ball gown of silver and glass, complete with delicate glass slippers. But remember, my dear, the fairy godmother warned, the spell will only last until the clock strikes midnight. Cinderella thanked her and hurried off to the ball, glowing like a dream. The royal ball. At the palace, all eyes turned as Cinderella entered. The prince was enchanted. He could not take his eyes off her and asked her to dance. She felt like she was floating, and for the first time in years, she felt truly alive. The prince and Cinderella danced the night away, laughing and talking as if they had known each other forever. But then, the clock began to strike midnight. Panicked, Cinderella ran from the ballroom, leaving the prince calling after her. In her haste, she lost one of her glass slippers on the steps. She leapt into her carriage just before it turned back into a bumpkin, her gown into rags, and her horses into mice. The prince held up the tiny slipper, determined. "I will find her. I will marry the girl who fits this slipper." The search for the mystery girl. The next day, the prince sent his men to every house in the kingdom. Every young woman was to try on the slipper. At Cinderella's home, Lady Tremaine realized the girl the prince sought was Cinderella. Furious, she locked her in the attic to stop her from trying on the shoe. Downstairs, Drusilla and Anastasia each tried the slipper, but it did not fit. The prince's servant was about to leave when Cinderella's mouse friends freed her from the attic. Wait, she called, rushing down the stairs. Lady Tremaine tried to stop her again, but Cinderella stood tall. The footman offered her the slipper. She sat down gracefully and slipped it on. It fit perfectly. The prince arrived moments later. Seeing Cinderella, he recognized her instantly, even without the ball gown. They smiled. She was the one. Happily ever after, Cinderella forgave her stepmother and stepsisters, though she never forgot their cruelty. She left her old life behind and married the prince in a grand celebration. The people rejoiced, for they loved her gentle heart and kindness. Cinderella became a wise and fair queen. She never lost her compassion for others and made sure her kingdom was one of kindness and justice. And so, Cinderella and her prince lived happily ever after, in this and justice. And so, Cinderella and her prince lived happily ever after. To be continued. Subscribe Lil'LaughsTv Magic Wand for more such videos.